Okay, Media Empire family, let's talk about the Bohemian Badass, the one subsidiary where everything gets done and yet nothing gets done. And I say that because the Bohemian Badass sort of soft launched its brand in 2015. Okay, for those of you who don't know what the Bohemian Badass is, it is the creative training and education outlet of Rebel Ragdoll. Basically, we don't just produce novels and films and comics and things like that, but we also teach you or anybody else who wants to enroll in the school how to do the same thing. We do so by writing epic blog posts, doing really awesome vlogs and tutorials, by running an informational and inspirational podcast, by creating and maintaining a community, which actually has been created, but it hasn't been populated yet, and also by maintaining and building our school, which is called the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives. So the Bohemian Badass is a really incredible brand. It's again female identified, female run. It's geared a little bit towards the darker side of the craft, but we still have a lot of really amazing tools that anybody can use no matter what kind of genre you are writing, save for the exception, or save for maybe more light-hearted romance things, although we'll have that eventually. But I can only create courses about the things that I know about, which is writing action, writing sex scenes, writing bloody, gory, dark scenes and gritty scenes and things like that. So, yeah, we have room for expansion, and we definitely will. But the main thing that I have been sort of confounded by with the Bohemian Badass, I think, is a lack of focus, to be very honest with you. Literally, and I'm going to go take you through a list right now, we have dozens and dozens of projects and courses and books and workbooks and classes that we're trying to create that are all on our project slate and our development slate. And I have been sort of loosely bouncing back and forth from one class or one project to another. And I think that's been the main issue in terms of producing steady, consistent content. And the two classes that I've been sort of bouncing back and forth between are the Metaphor Maven class and the Plot Like a Badass class. So there's definitely some tweaks and improvements I can make for the Bohemian Badass for 2018. I definitely want to be more consistent and more present on the blog and on the vlog and the podcast. So producing weekly content for the blog, producing a weekly vlog and podcast for the Be Badass podcast, and so on and so forth. So I sort of know where exactly we've been suffering. I also want to do a rehaul of the website, because this year we did a rehaul of the logo, and the logo I'm in love with. So those are the things that I feel as though I have failed at for the Bohemian Badass this year. But I'm going to tell you the few things that I do feel very successful at. And let me just pull up my little success list of what I've done in 2017. Let us scroll up. Okay. All right, so here are our summary points. Okay, what have we actually been able to get done at this sort of elusive, crazy subsidiary? So this year, as I mentioned, I only really wrote and published one blog post, which is pathetic. Sorry. I mean, it just is. I recorded and produced and published 2 podcasts. I also worked on and finished 2 writing templates based off of the horror writing class that I was taking this year at Screenwriting U. I created a literal, I believe, 15 module template, which will take you step by step through writing a horror script and also a survival horror novel. The only problem with having finished this is that I can't actually give it to you guys or market it, because this is essentially intellectual property developed on someone else's intellectual property. So, which is sad and seems like a waste of time, except for me, who learned a lot. But I really, really want to offer it as like a free opt-in for you guys. I wouldn't charge for it or anything like that, but because it's so closely based on the actual material that was presented at Screenwriting U, I cannot both like ethically, morally, and legally offer it to you. But it was something that I was able to get done. It was a massive accomplishment. So, and I say that like with regret, because you guys won't be able to enjoy that. But here are things that you guys will actually be able to enjoy once I'm able to get these things off of the ground. I also worked on very heavily the Writing a Badass TV series template, which once that will be released once I actually write to completion the Rebel Ragdoll TV series, any one of them that we have on our slate, either the Immortal TV series, the Books of Ezekiel TV series, the horror TV series, or the Legacy TV series, or the At His Right Hand TV series. Any one of those, whichever one gets finished first, and if it's done in a really amazing way, that is when I will then offer for commercial purchase and use the Rebel Ragdoll Writing a Badass TV series template, based specifically off of how we do it at Rebel Ragdoll Productions. Okay, so I worked on that. I also worked on the Metaphor Maven signature course, which sort of includes a bunch of sub products. So we have a signature course, but we also will be offering a workbook, an ebook, like a readable ebook, a master class, which is a smaller version of the signature course, and maybe even a webinar. And we also might do like an email class. So each one of our major brands, like Metaphor Maven is like one of our brands at the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives, will always have a sort of constellation of intellectual properties developed off of that one brand, which helps to give some flexibility to our to our students, because sometimes they want a smaller course as opposed to the larger, course, or they can only afford the smaller course, or they prefer to read a book and not take a course, or they just prefer a workbook. And we like to have different facets of our brand available for anybody to dive in and purchase or use. But then, of course, we have the signature course, which has the larger course with the several modules to it, with all the trimmings, which includes the workbook, the ebook, the master class, that you can take on the go, the email drip campaign, or whatever. So we worked pretty much on the signature course for Metaphor Maven, along with all of those sub properties as well. That's what I worked on this year. And I actually presented it to my playwriting class, and I think I need to tweak it a little bit, because either the people in the playwriting class just don't like systematic ways of creating metaphors, or like, I don't know, like it's just like not relating to the class. Although, to be very honest and super honest, the professor of the course kind of maligned the way in which like I created the course before I could even get through it. So that kind of set the tone for the entire class. But that's a whole different conversation. Again, when you're doing your own thing and you're running your own business and you have your own way of engaging with the world, sometimes people don't really understand that. And the person who sort of maligned the course only maligned it, not because the course was bad, but because that's just not how they engage with evolving language. And like there are different ways in which, for example, people eat food or people do things. There's no wrong way, they're just different ways. So that was the journey with Metaphor Maven, but it was a journey that I still took throughout the year and made some progress on. It's just not finished. And so that's my main issue with just getting it done. Okay. The next thing that I worked on was the Plot Like a Badass brand, which is another signature course brand that's teaching you guys how to plot. like a badass, but also basically how to plot cinematically, using the 4-act structure, using 8 sequences, using beats, and basically, things like that. And just like with Metaphor Maven, the Plot Like a Badass brand includes the signature course, the master class, the free opt-in email course where you get like a little bit, a little taste of what's going on, the workbook, the ebook, etc. So that entire brand I essentially worked on this year as well. And I actually got quite a bit of the ebook finished this year, which I'm really excited about and proud of. But again, this is about me acknowledging what I have been able to do, but also acknowledging what I need to improve on, which is like the laser focus. So I can get all of these brands out, all of these, intellectual property permutations of the brands out, and just open the school and start the Bohemian Badass brand already. Like really kick it off strong this coming year. Let's see. I also worked on our free opt-in, our free gift to anyone who comes to the Bohemian Badass, and it's called the Writers Unblocked pre-writing course. And basically it is a 30-day sort of writing course that allows new writers, old writers, veteran writers, whatever kind of writer you are, to break through your writer's block. If you have a problem starting your novel, this is a great course for you. If you have issues, for example, breaking through certain aspects of your novel, even if you're a veteran writer, this is also a great course for you to take. Although I do admit that the course is mainly geared towards new writers who are sort of just getting started in their careers, there are many great things for veteran writers as well. And so this is a great course, and it's free. It's free in exchange for your email address, basically. Join our crew and you can get a free course, a free month-long course. And so I've been working on that as well. I also outlined and developed the Creating Badass Characters course. And to be very honest with you guys, I noticed that for me, when it comes to novel writing in particular, I feel as though there are 4 pillars to writing a really great sci-fi or fantasy novel. And when I say sci-fi or fantasy, I usually mean that they are either high sci-fi or high fantasy, wherein you're creating entirely new and separate immersive worlds. Although low fantasy and low sci-fi are great too. I love it. But at The Bohemian Badass, we want to give you all the tools for you to be able to sit down, use these tools, and create a science fiction novel series or a fantasy series that is immersive, that has great pacing, amazing characters, an amazing plot with all the twists and turns that you love, and that's well written. And so at the Bohemian Badass, like the 4 pillars of that for us is world building. Okay, we call it badass world building, badass character engineering, so character design, plotting, okay, which is where the Plot Like a Badass course comes from. And then for those of you who want super immersive worlds, we have also the language creation aspect of building a high fantasy or building a high science fiction. And for us, those are like the 4 strong pillars of creating a really high level, deeply immersive sci-fi fantasy world, where you can write an amazing series in it and really draw in readers. And so that will probably be the move for 2018, is to develop those 4 pillars through courses and through templates, through email opt-ins, through free lead magnets. I think that 2018 will be focused mostly on developing the novel writing craft at the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives. And of course, from there, we'll then expand into script writing, screenwriting, TV pilot and teleplay writing, stage play writing, and then actual filmmaking and producing courses, filmmaking for TV, independent TV, filmmaking for feature films, web series creation. Will also then probably expand into teaching you guys how to do game design, how to put together a team of designers and game writers and programmers and things like that, and actually make your own game. So basically, the Bohemian Badass will grow in its scope and in the material it covers as the Rebel Ragdoll Fempire itself grows. I just generally only feel comfortable with teaching those things that I feel like I have already mastered. So that is basically how the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives will grow. And if then I start to create collaborations with my other partners, other women, other people in the field who are doing different things. Like I know a lot of female comic writers and illustrators. Then the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives will grow in that direction as well. So it will grow with my own personal experience, and it will grow with the collaborations and the partnerships that I make and that the company makes in its journey. Because I don't believe in pushing and selling and teaching something that I personally do not have experience with. It feels scammy to me. It feels uninformed to me. And the only way that I would feel comfortable with doing something like that is if I spent a lot of time researching that particular part of the craft, and I was clear with you that I'm passing on the knowledge that I'm learning from other people onto you. So, and there's a difference between letting people know that you're passing on knowledge that you've learned from others versus knowledge that you have gained from your own success and your own skill. And sometimes the two are one and the same, because as you learn from other people, it's ultimately informing your own craft and your own skill and your own success. But if I were to teach you, for example, how to become a New York Times bestseller, at this moment, I would be teaching you based on me doing case studies of other independent authors who have made the New York Times bestseller list. If I were to come and tell you that this is from my own experience, that would be a lie, because I'm not currently a New York Times bestseller list. Although, you guys, if you've been paying attention, you know I will be making a USA Today run in 2018 through a box set with multiple other authors. But that's basically the philosophy behind the Bohemian Badass. And I still feel as though with my knowledge and expertise as it is, there is a lot to offer to the blog, to the vlog, to the podcast, to tutorials, to me creating courses. I can leverage a lot of intellectual property based on the skills I already have and that I know that I am good at. But that is all that you will get. You get a lot, but you're not going to get me talking about things that I have no clue about, because that's disingenuous, especially if I'm charging for these courses. Like, come on. So that's what we've been up to at the Bohemian Badass. I keep saying we as though there's more than one person, but like this is just like me projecting into the future and like claiming the fempire-ness of the fempire. I also actually, through New Adult Noir and what I was doing on the blog and through through that subsidiary, I created an sort of a basic epic giveaway guide, like how to basically teaching authors how to run their own epic giveaways. Because a lot of authors were asking me, sort of, I guess, if they were vetting me and to see if I knew what I was doing, they were asking me what the protocol is with regard to how I run my giveaways in New Adult Noir. And I got a few questions like that. So I started off as an FAQ page, and then I just said, why don't I just write an entire guide and make it very clear that this is the New Adult Noir protocol? And so that's what I did. I made an entire guide, and I recorded 2 videos just to show people step by step how to create their own epic giveaways that attract all these new readers. And that actually might be repurposed into a mini ebook plus, like mini ebook / workbook plus like a video series. And that will probably go up in the marketing track at the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives, the marketing and selling track. I think I'm going to do that because it's just sort of sitting out there on New Adult Noir's website for free. And I don't know if people are actually like reading it or whatever, but it's where I direct any authors who have any questions about my giveaway process and things like that. That is where I direct them automatically. And that can be repurposed into an intellectual property. So I did do that. I finished that this year. And now I can turn it into an actual, like, monetized course, which is great. And then, as you guys know, as I explained in the original Rebel Ragdoll video, and I'll explain again briefly in case you haven't watched it, I also did a total overhaul of the Bohemian Badass logo, which will then lead to a larger overhaul of the website and the brand as a whole. And I did that because I wanted a solid logo for the company, but I also really wanted to be very upfront, very reclamatory, and, just very proud and out there with the identity of the Bohemian Badass, that it was created, founded, and it is currently powered by a creative woman of color who is a single mother whose entire purpose and entire passion is to be a teacher, a collaborator, someone who inspires, someone who supports women who want to create careers based on their art, whatever their art is. And so with having said that, knowing the mission of the Bohemian Badass and knowing who I am as a person, I did not want to hide who I was behind the scenes. I wanted to claim that and really just, be upfront with what this brand is about and who this brand is for. This is for women. I mean, not that we don't turn anybody away. Our focus is on women, but we don't turn anyone away. But this brand was built for, women who want to become creative badasses in whatever artistic areas they want to master. And this is for women who want to take their creative skills to the next level, but also monetize those skills and build creative, sustainable, lifestyle-based businesses around their art. And so that is the focus. And that's basically the entire philosophy that went into the logo rebrand. And so I'm excited that at the very least, that was the main thing that got done for the Bohemian Badass. And as of 2018, and I'll get into this more for my 2018 goals in the next post, I'm going to be pretty much overhauling the entire website. I like the way it looks, but I think that there are some nicer, better templates out there that really sort of cinch the sexiness and the edginess that our company brings to the table. So that is basically it. That is what has been done for the Bohemian Badass. I am excited for being on point and consistent, and I'm looking forward to growing more through our intellectual properties and through our property permutations next year. And thank you so much for joining me in this section. Please feel free to keep scrolling through and listening to my 2017 updates in all other areas of both my Rebel Ragdoll Fempire and my personal and creative and professional development. I'll see you in the next segment. Bye.